We're still weeks away from the 2023 F1 season starting, but already Ferrari finds itself under scrutiny from all angles. From speculation about significant gains on the engine side to the suggestion this is a crunch season to convince star driver Charles Leclerc to stick around long term, Ferrari emerges from another winter with plenty of questions to answer. So when new team principal Fred Vasseur faced the media for the first time this week, which we were in the audience for, there was a lot of ground to cover. We're going to dig into the first signs of a Vasseur master plan for Ferrari in this video. As we do, let us know what you think in the comments, and remember to like, subscribe and ring the bell to turn on notifications if you haven't already. Vasseur insists that winter rumours in Italy of a 30 horsepower performance boost from the 2023 Ferrari engine are a joke, and that all the development during the off-season has been concentrated on fixing the reliability issue which blighted the team's 2022 season. This distinction between reliability and performance upgrades has always been set to be a bone of contention since engine specifications were frozen last year. The freeze was in two parts, with all combustion engine specs plus the MGU-H frozen pre-season and the electrical elements including the MGU-K frozen at the beginning of September, all until the end of 2025. Teams can make reliability changes, provided they are approved by the FIA technical department, which must be satisfied that the changes are for purposes of reliability, safety or cost saving. The complication is where the distinction lies between performance and reliability. All teams and power unit manufacturers are more than aware of how politically delicate that distinction is. In the case of Ferrari, the problem component last year was the MGU-H. After the engine failures in Spain and Austria, Ferrari ran the MGU-H less aggressively, which is believed to have cost performance equivalent to around 2/10 in lap time. If the reliability problem has been cured, in theory the Ferrari engine should be restored to the level of performance in the first half of last year, when its low-down power delivery was clearly the best of the four power units. This would be key to Ferrari mounting a title challenge this year, which Vasseur has admitted has to be the aim, otherwise it's not being ambitious enough. Even though he's rubbished the specific suggestion of a 30 horsepower increase, this is not as simple an issue as it may appear if the lap time equivalent of that could be derived elsewhere. With a hybrid power unit, the lap time loss is not as linear as in the pre-hybrid days, as differences in peak power may not change, but less effective electrical deployment could cost performance in terms of torque delivery, which would still equal lap time. Additionally, Vasseur will be naturally reluctant to acknowledge any performance gain at all, however it can be framed, given how sensitive that issue is during an engine freeze. There is a subtle but very important difference between gaining performance per se and gaining performance specifically compared to the reliability lowered level that Ferrari had in the second part of 2022. Vasseur says that the early indications from dyno testing suggest the reliability problem has indeed been brought under control, and presumably the FIA technical department is at ease with whatever Ferrari has done to achieve that. The engine development work is key for Ferrari, but Vasseur's only been in the job for a couple of weeks, so that's out of his remit for now. Where his focus lies in the lead up to the season is a detailed analysis of where the team went wrong in 2022 and assessing what can be improved. It's easy to give him a short list which would be topped by the strategy errors and poor car development in the middle of the season. But Vasseur says it's a very long process to really get to the bottom of that, with elements like development something he will only be able to judge as the season progresses and he sees how certain departments work and make decisions. Strategy and operation are key short-term priorities though. Vasseur is being very careful not to throw anyone under the bus. In fact, he's stressed that where strategic problems are concerned, on the outside we just see what he calls the most visible part of the iceberg. The rest is below the surface. It's a good analogy, and a valid one. In Ferrari's case, the head of strategy is Iñaki Rueda, an intelligent and clearly talented individual who becomes the face of everything else that occurs in strategic planning and execution. Vasseur is trying to analyse every single mistake from 2022 to work out the root cause, a bad decision, poor organisation, flawed communication, or whatever it may be. And it sounds as though Vasseur has already identified some potential issues within the system, rather than with individuals. He stressed the need for a clear flow of communication and described it as a bit short notice for me, but will have to do some improvement. Vasseur said it would be arrogant for him to make personnel or even structural changes after only being at the company for a fortnight, but some tweaks could be possible by the time the season begins, and he has also pledged to act if he sees signs of problems thereafter. What will be key for the Vasseur era is that he is empowered to make the changes he sees fit. We've covered in past videos that Ferrari's structure doesn't automatically give the team principal the same autonomy that they would have in another team. As the man brought in by Chairman John Elkann and CEO Benedetto Vigna, you would imagine that Vasseur has been encouraged to do what needs to be done. He insists that the initial dealings he's had with Vigna in particular mean that whatever the lines of reporting are, there's enough transparency and communication for it to work. If that is the case, then it is imperative Ferrari is patient enough to give Vasseur time to make a mark on the organisation, as the changes it needs will not happen overnight. And in Vasseur's own words, the job of improving an F1 team is a process without an end anyway. All of this could have serious relevance beyond Ferrari's short-term target of fighting for the title. Since the second half of last year, there has been speculation about Leclerc's future at the team. In Abu Dhabi, we even heard whispers of Mercedes lining Leclerc up as a possible long-term replacement for Lewis Hamilton, a rumour that has persisted through the winter as well. Leclerc and Ferrari are a great match on paper. He's been part of its setup for many years and was singled out as the future of the team very early on, with a new long-term deal at the end of 2019 committing him to the end of 2024. But that is now quite a lot closer, and Leclerc is likely to want serious reassurance this year that Ferrari is capable of delivering on its potential rather than continuing to underachieve. Leclerc is too good not to get a proper crack at a World Championship, so Ferrari must make clear progress this year compared to 2022 to convince him he can get one at Ferrari. Vasseur has indirectly acknowledged that, even by sidestepping our question to him this week. When we asked if Ferrari's long-term commitment was a priority and if it was something he would like to get resolved this year, Vasseur said he didn't want that to be an early topic of discussion. Instead, he said the focus had to be on the sporting side to get results. Vasseur's suggestion was that it would be like a marriage. If both sides are happy, the union will continue. The logical extension to that is that if Ferrari proves Leclerc can trust the team to get the results he needs in 2023, then it will be a lot easier to get Leclerc to sign a new deal beyond 2024. There's been plenty of speculation that recruiting Vasseur, who has a long and positive relationship with Leclerc across karting, junior single-seaters and F1, was a blatant attempt from Ferrari to keep Leclerc on side. The idea of Vasseur building Ferrari around Leclerc would be bad news for the team's other driver, Carlos Sainz, so it was no surprise to hear Vasseur bat away that notion this week. While not interested in number 1 and number 2 drivers, Vasseur is however happy to prioritise either if the situation demands it. That could be to maximise the result for Ferrari in a given race or to prioritise a driver's championship bid if they are in a stronger position. This is a good thing for Ferrari and for both drivers. Under Mattia Binotto's leadership, there was a tendency not to intervene in on-track battles between the drivers in the hope situations would resolve themselves. When interventions were made, they were often late and not always well executed. Leclerc was also unhappy team orders weren't used at Interlagos when he was chasing Sainz for third late on and fighting for second in the World Championship. While Vasseur has vast experience running racing teams, this is the first time he'll potentially be making calls that impact the World Championship. His policy can only be tested in the heat of competition, which it will be if Ferrari has a car fast enough to fight for victories and the title. If Ferrari is not even in that position, then Vasseur will have far bigger problems to worry about than team orders.